Good morning. Today is the 7th of October 2024 and I'm going to go through my trading plan, and we currently have half an hour before the market opens. And before we start, let's take a look and see what news could be moving the market today. As you can see, we have a lot of Fed speakers today, 1 o'clock, 1:50, 3 o'clock, so keep an eye on these. But there's not much news today at all. Got a bit of news tomorrow though. Okay, so let's go straight to the charts. On my screen we're looking at the ES. This is the S&P 500 E-mini futures, and we're currently looking at the 1 hour time frame. Okay, so we've been in a big, we kind of put in this bottom on the, we're looking at the hourly. We've got this trend line. Let's just zoom out a bit for a second, it'll make more sense. So we've been watching this hourly trend line, and we came in middle September. We bounced off it twice. Well, we created the trend line and bounced off it. We've yet to come back to retest that area, so let's get a bit closer to see where we are. We're looking at the 1 hour. Okay, so put in a new all-time high. What's going on? Here we go. We got a new all-time high here at 58.12 area, and we tried to retest it a few times, came back up into that region on Friday, and we're not quite there. Why is my chart all flattened out? Let's just bring it in a bit. That's better. Okay, so right, that's a bit better. So we've got a natural area to watch for potential rejection, and I've got my alert in place. So 58, 58.10, 58.12. Currently couldn't quite get over this 58,000, which is a psychological number, and we rejected it. So we could also watch this region here for a rejection as well. I do quite like the fact we've got this trend line coming down, and we're putting in a bit of a flag, so we could even look for a break of this trend line, maybe the break of pre-market. Let's just zoom in a bit more, that's better. So we've broken this trend line, we're putting in a flag pattern, and either we're going to continue to trend up or we're going to reject it back down. So that's the scenarios we're looking at. Let's just come up with a plan for today. Okay, so I do quite like this area for rejection, 58.05 to 58.10. So this is an area I'll be watching for. I've got a, last time we were up in that region, looks a bit big. We had this big reaction down, and then we went sideways for a bit, putting in this bottom pattern. It looks like a big head and shoulders pattern here. And then we broke out and then came back and retested the neckline. Maybe not really the neckline, but you could say this is a retest of the neckline, and we're looking at this region here. That's the neckline. So that's going to be a bounce area. So you know what? I don't like all the bottom tails. Okay, let's just play it. Say if it's Monday, so let's not rush into any trades. So I'm going to watch this area again for a bounce, and that's around 57.30, and I'm going to watch this area here for a rejection. They're pretty much two areas, 58.12, 58.30, 57.30. As for a higher risk scalp play, we do have this area of confluence, lots of volume running down through this middle. You can see we bounced off the area of confluence, come back up. Maybe we could look for a breakdown of this level here, and that's 57.60, break and retest pre-market low, and we can watch pre-market high, break and retest long, and that's really the only four levels I'm watching today. But key areas is this area up here around about 58.10, and this area down here 57.32. Let's take a look at the order flow to see whether that's anything in the pre-market, any clues what's going on. As you can see on the screen, we are coming to a potential trend line on the hourly, and we're seeing a little bit of a divergence, and what I mean by that is we've got the price coming down, but the cumulative delta going sideways, which means we're probably absorbing a lot of the sellers here, and then obviously the price is now kicking back up, which is kind of what you expect to happen. Nothing unusual, so not really worth spending too much time here. We do have a area where we've got a few filtered 30-minute levels in a row, like 57, 70, so we can watch that area because we did hold that area before. There's nothing of, just looking at cumulative delta, yeah, it all looks pretty much as you expect. There's pre-market volume as well. So let's go back to the main screen and then just have a look at SPY next. SPY, it's exactly the same really. So we're basically watching for this region up here for a rejection. Maybe consider that region as well, which is around 573. Let's mark 573 up. Give it that one. This is our area confluence. We can look for a break and retest a pre-market low, and maybe a break and retest a pre-market high. And then we've got this big zone down in this area. Notice there's a big area confluence, but not a great deal of volume. So maybe if we do go through that area, we could potentially see not much resistance below. We've got a little bit of, we've got a volume shelf here. So potentially along here, we could see a bit of a bounce now, and that'd be off our trend line, 562 to 561, which we're watching anyway. So let's just keep an eye on 564, 565 for the bounce, and then we watch rejection 574.30. SPX looking bullish right now. The reason I say looking bullish because we're in this big uptrend, come down, we've broken the trend line, and let's just make that a bit longer. We've broken the trend line, so this is the trend line we've broken, and we've pushed out. So maybe a break, a retest of that area for the push up into new all-time highs. I do quite like the rejection at 57.67, so if we come into that region we can watch ES for rejection, and we can watch this region for a bounce. Not a big fan of bits in between. I will keep them in place, but that area and that area. So 56.78, 56.79 bounce, and 57.67 rejection. But then I'll be watching ES at the time. So if we come into any of these areas, I'll be looking to take on ES, and I want SPX to align up with the ES as well. Okay, NQ, which is the Nasdaq, bit weaker than ES because we're nowhere near all-time highs, which is this area up here. I do like this region, 2030, 2388 to 2500 for the rejection. Come into that region, and I also quite like the bounce down here at 19800, 19900, and that's probably the only places we can watch pre-market highs and lows. However, a break of pre-market low will be coming into this area confluence. So it would be hard to go short unless we break down through it, pull back and retest. And obviously we'll watch the highs as well. QQQ. We can keep an eye on this gap, this pivot, this region of 490.36 for the rejection, and again we can watch this area for the bounce, 480 to 478. We've got this area confluence right on this point of control as well, right down through the middle, so we could potentially look for a break. Let's go with that one. We can potentially look for the break and retest of that area short into that region, or watch for the break and retest long. but obviously the trend is still in an uptrend, so it's going to be hard to go short. So just treat that as a scalp. Crude oil going up probably because of the uncertainty in Lebanon and Israel at the moment and all around that Middle East. We're right up to this trend line area and we've just rejected it. So we can keep an eye on that. A break and retest of 76.33 would be area I like the most. If we pull back, we can watch the bounce off 74.50, which is the point of control. And you can see a big area of confluence, and so that's where the volume is. So two levels, break and retest long, and a bounce down here. So I'm more bullish and bearish on this because we are back into our trend. This trend here goes back several months, and we're back at the IN, so we really want to see it break out, break and retest, a bit like what we saw here. Broke it, retest, boom. Gold, there we go. So gold is looking a bit sideways still. We got this range we need to break out of before we think of anything. So the range is from here down to there. So what we're looking for is a break and retest. Oh. So break and retest of 26.51 short, or we can watch for the break and retest over the point of control. You can see the big amount of volume here. Big area of confluence, bottoms of candles, tops of candles. So we're watching for a break and retest of 26.80. And we've got a little bit of overhead resistance, but the volume is tapering off at this end. So we can potentially watch this area 2700 for the rejection or a target if we're long. And then we're into all-time highs again. RTY, which is the Russell 2000. This is a little bit different to the other stocks because we can see a bit of a downtrend. We can probably link that together as well. Let's get rid of that, let's do it properly. You can probably link that one. I'll do that one instead. So we see that channel we are currently in. So we've got this bounce area where we've just bounced. So I quite like the break and retest back into that trend line long. So let's just draw the trend line in actually on TradingView. Be about there. Let's draw the next one in. Around about there roughly. In fact, one thing you can do, which I should have done, just clone the trend line, and it normally just fits in perfectly. Look at that, not bad, pretty much there. Top of that pivot, bottoms of all these pivots. So this is the channel we're currently in. So we are basically for a break, retest the channel long, or we can watch for a bounce at that low, and we've got the channel to guide as well. YM looking pretty bullish. We can get rid of that old line there. I can do a cleaning up this chart at some point, which I will do. So let's just go to the daily, see where we are with this. Topping tail. What's the volume like? On slightly above average volume, and then a couple of reds on above average volume with bottom tails. So it's showing a little bit of a sign of exhaustion around this region, or potential reversal. But we need to break down below this region for it to be a change of direction, a bit like that. So sticking with the bias that we're going to go long for now. A nice engulfing bar as well. We can watch for the break and retest of pre-market high, which will be, what's the pre-market high today? Here we go. So I'm going to load my indicators. Oh, so on the daily. Let's go back to the hourly. So that's where the pre-market high and lows are loaded. So just going to see. Usually loaded. Okay, doesn't want to play today. Okay, so we can work out the pre-market high. So I really only like to look at this 3 AM pre-market. So if we get above, basically we want to be above this 200 sideways moving average and probably the VWAP as well. So that's where we want to go long. If we lose, and we're looking at MES, that's probably why I didn't recognise. Back to ES again. Here we go. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's just showing it. Let me just essential values is that one. No. It doesn't matter, I'll find it. It's one of my indicators. Yep, so let's go back to YM. So we're basically looking for a rejection down in this zone here. This is a big area of confluence. We've been there several times before. So 42,630 for the rejection, and you can see this very clear bounce point down here as well, 42,280. And that's it, that's what I'm watching. Let's look at Bitcoin briefly. And let's go to the daily. You can see we're still within this channel, we're not doing much really. Are we seeing a bit of a bullish sign? We're going to break out maybe. There's no plays here for me. We're still below the 200 moving average, so we need to close above that on the hourly and the daily for us to consider to be bullish. So I'm only considering an add if we get back down into this region, potentially back down into this region. And that's it. ES, I'll just quickly go over my levels one more time. So we're looking for a, back to the hourly, something of interest actually. So on Friday we had this data drop. If you go to the 5-minute chart, you can see I marked the 5-minute candle like I always do with the fibs. So we've got 50%, 0 and 1. And you can see where the market, you can see where the algos are now. So you obviously got algos up in this region, algos down in this region, and algos in this region. That's kind of why I mark it off. You can see we came down, came back up, retested it twice, you could say 3 times, 4 times, and then we finally broke out, came back, retested the 50% mark. Bear in mind this is based on this candle from 8:30, and then retested it and then finally broke down, and then we broke down. So that's Friday. And then let's take a look at today. So you can see the lines are still there. And it might be more coincidence, but we were hovering around that area. We bounced, we bounced, we bounced, we bounced, and finally broke through. Bounced, 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 finally broke through. Bounce, 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 and then we're back up to the 50% area of that area. So I'm just wondering whether, and obviously 3 AM, there's no same person who wants to be trading that time in the morning. So that's, to me, that's probably algos trading, and maybe it's the Asian market as well. And even at, sorry, that's midnight, it's 3 AM. Again, no same person would want to be trading that unless it's an algo. And then we've got the 5 AM, still no same person wants to be trading that unless it's an algo. So just a little bit of interest to see how previous data candles just help predict where algos could be sitting. So we can use this today as well to see where algos could be sitting in these regions. We may see a little bit of volatility like we've seen at these areas. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow at 9 AM. On my other stream is the live order flow, which looks a bit like this, and that's what I keep an eye on when we get to our reversal levels, just to see if there's any divergence.